Hello viewers, in this class we'll look upon basics of gears part 2, and this is also another interesting topic in gear. We already discussed about law of gearing. Now we'll elaborate the law of gearing with a simple derivation. So what is law of gearing? Now we can see there are two gears, meshing and revolving. So here, if the two surfaces are in contact, if I drop a tangent and a normal to it, and the common normal between the two surfaces must always lie on the same point, and that point is called pitch point. If I draw a tangent and normal to the two mating surfaces, the common normal must always lie on the same point. So that is the law of gearing. Only if law of gearing is satisfied by any two curves, then that curve only will be able to produce the gearing action. That means if it revolves, it will be able to revolve another gear also. So that is law of gearing. Why the law of gearing is of utmost importance? Because without satisfying the law of gearing, we cannot produce the gearing action, and we cannot produce with certain uniform velocity ratio. So that is the importance of law of gearing. How can we prove that? We'll go with simple derivation with a simple sketch. Now consider that there are two surfaces. This is surface 1 and this is surface 2, and two are mating at one point. So this is not the outer diameter of the gear. This is just a circle, just two surface which is in mate, and this is the common point of contact. So therefore this will be tangent, and a perpendicular dropout to the tangent is a normal. So this is tangent, this is normal. As per law of gearing, this is the common normal, and this must be always in the same straight line. That is law of gearing to transmit suitable or proper velocity ratio. Now we'll go with this. Imagine that this is the center of rotation of the gear 1. Say this is O1, and center of rotation of the gear 2, O2. We can join two lines between that. This is line joining two gear centers, and imagine this is cutting a normal point on one place. Take that point as P, and join or drop a perpendicular line to the normal like this. So now if I join the center O1 to this point and center O2 to this point, that is the common point where the two surfaces meets. So now we'll join these two and take that point as Q. So we have joined from center to this point, and from center to second center to this point, O1 to Q and O2 to Q. So this is the common point where the tangent and normal intersects the two surfaces. Now take some angles and apply some trigonometry. Let us take this angle as alpha, that is angle between O1M and O1Q on the first circle, on the first gear, and take this circle, that is beta. This is angle for second gear, second mating gear. So angle between O2N and O2Q. So now if you drop a perpendicular line from here, so imagine this is the circle and rotating with certain angular velocity. If I drop a vertical line or perpendicular line here, that will be V1, velocity of first gear. And similarly, if I drop a perpendicular line from here to here, that will be V2. So this is V1. V1 is drawn perpendicular to this line. That means a line joining center of the gear 1 to the point of contact, and V2 is the velocity, and that is nothing but perpendicular to the line joining O2, center of the gear 2, with the point of contact. So this is velocity acting in this direction, linear velocity acting in this direction, and V2 is the linear velocity acting in this direction. And if we take a common velocity between these two, that will be, before going to that, we'll transfer the angle. So if this is perpendicular and this is also perpendicular, then this angle will be transferred here. So this alpha and this alpha will be same. Similarly, this beta and this beta will be same. So this angle is alpha and this angle is beta. Now the common velocity will be acting along the normal like this. So we can draw a straight line over here, and this will be the common angle V acting along the normal. So now we imagine that it is rotating with some angular velocity of omega 1 and angular velocity of omega 2. So now the gear starts rotating with angular velocity of omega 1 here and angular velocity of omega 2 here. As we know that always gears are rotating in anti-clockwise opposite direction. If gear 1 is rotating in clockwise direction, gear 2 must be rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So direction reversed, but velocity ratio remains same. So now this is the V. So based on this concept, we'll arrive a simple derivation. So from the geometry, if we take this geometry, if we take this one here V1, this forms one triangle and this forms one triangle. If we take this geometry, V, the linear velocity along the normal, that will be equal to V1 cos alpha, as well as if we take this triangle, this bigger triangle, again V will be equal to V2 cos beta. So therefore V will be equal to V1 cos alpha and that will be equal to V2 cos beta. So now from this one we can extend further. Now come to this triangle O1MQ. So before that we want to know one more thing. We know that V equal to omega into R. This is a very well known general concept. Linear velocity equal to angular velocity into radius of rotation, or omega equal to V by R. Based on that concept, this is the perpendicular drop. So this is the V and this is the distance between center to the point of contact. So from here only velocity acts. So therefore V1 will be equal to omega 1 into this distance O1Q. Similarly V2 will be equal to omega 2 into O2Q. So we can take these two values, V1 equal to omega 1 into O1Q and V2 equal to omega 2 into O2Q. Just we can substitute V1 and V2 in this equation. So therefore omega 1 O1Q into cos alpha will be equal to omega 2 O2Q into cos beta. So now we'll go to determine cos alpha and cos beta in these triangles. Now take triangle O1MQ. In this triangle, this angle is alpha. So therefore cos alpha is adjacent side by hypotenuse. So therefore that will be O1M by O1Q. So in this triangle cos alpha will be equal to O1M by O1Q. Similarly, if we take the triangle O2NQ, in this triangle cos beta will be equal to O2N by O2Q. So O2N by O2Q. So from this cos alpha and cos beta we can just substitute in this equation this value. So therefore here replacing the cos functions, omega 1 O1Q into cos alpha is replaced by O1M by O1Q, and here cos beta is replaced by O2N by O2Q. So from this we can cancel O1Q and O1Q here and O2Q and O2Q here. So reduce the equation, we will be getting omega 1 by omega 2 equal to O2N by O1M. That means angular velocity ratio here omega 1 and by this omega 2, that will be equal to here this length O1M, O2N, first this one, omega 1 by omega 2 will be equal to O2N by O1M. So this length by this length. Subsequently, if we consider this triangle also in our equations, that is O1PM and O2PN, by applying the similar triangle concept, if this and this are in the same line, so this ratio will be same as these ratios. That means O2N will be similar to O2P. Similarly, O1M will be similar to O1P. So therefore O2N by O1M can be written as O2P by O1P also. So therefore finally we can write omega 1 by omega 2 as O2N by O1M, that again will be equal to O2P by O1P. So thus from this equation what we arrived is angular velocity between two gears, that means this omega 1 and omega 2 for gear 1 and gear 2. The angular velocity between the two gears is always passing through this common normal, because this dropout length and this dropout length falls on the common normal, as well as the common point P, that is also falls on the common normal. So therefore to transmit the uniform velocity ratio, this omega 1 by omega 2 is O2 by N, O1 by M, and O2 by P and O1 by P. Everything falls on the common normal. So that's why the common normal at the point of contact of a pair of teeth must always pass through the pitch point. So that point is always passed through the same point, that point is pitch point. Hence we proved that this will satisfy the gearing action. So only we know already that only if law of gearing is satisfied by that particular curve, that only satisfy the gearing action like this. Only if we have that curve satisfy the law of gearing, that only will have gearing action. Only two such curves will produce the gearing action. We know that one is involute and another one is cycloid. So we'll discuss about involute and cycloid in detail in the subsequent classes. Thank you. If you like this video, you can like, subscribe and comment. Thank you.